Thanks, Edwin, and thanks to LSI for putting on this great event, and for all of you. One clarification, CFO of Axena Health. Don't get me in trouble with my boss. Axena Health, we're a medical device company focused on providing clinically proven treatments, redefining the standard of care in women's pelvic health. Our initial focus is female urinary incontinence, where our device, the Leva Pelvic Health System, provides doctor-prescribed first-line treatment for stress, urgency, and mixed urinary incontinence, including overactive bladder, so all three major types of urinary incontinence. 78 million women in the United States experience monthly urinary incontinence. 28 million women experience moderate to severe urinary incontinence, so massive prevalence in these conditions. Our treatment is backed by multiple RCTs, including 2 published in ACOG's Green Journal, establishing its efficacy. Looking ahead, Leva is already cleared for fecal incontinence, and we have a pipeline of additional indications, including early-stage pelvic organ prolapse, and the opportunity to provide AI-enabled personalized treatments. And I'll talk a little bit about that more. I know that AI can kind of be a buzzword, but it's more than that for us. Coming back to today, we're in the market in 10 territories. We increased our revenue last year by 300% to $2.7 million. We'll double that again this year. Our clinical evidence, demand from prescribers as well as patients together are really allowing us to see increasing adoption by payers, including published policies from Cigna and Highmark. Earlier this year, we announced a strategic collaboration with Mayo Clinic. That was led by the urogynecology department. Thanks for some of the Mayo Clinic folks who were here. And that also included an investment by Mayo Clinic Ventures. And while we're only on the market in the US, currently we're actively involved in clinical trials in sub-Saharan Africa, really focused on seeing how we can apply our technology and mechanism of action in lower resource settings than the United States. We're focused on urinary incontinence because despite clear clinical evidence and clear guidelines by every relevant society, guidelines that in every case call for a stepwise care pathway, first line, second line, third line, the vast majority of women do not receive first line treatment. As it shows here, only 7% receive ACOG recommended first line treatment. Instead, patients typically go on to medications, which actually are not even indicated for stress urinary incontinence, or patients move on to surgeries. Worst of all, 1/3 of patients do not receive any treatment at all, despite a diagnosis by their doctor. So our solution is the Leva Pelvic Health System. Leva is a modern approach to pelvic floor muscle therapy. Leva empowers effective, supervised pelvic floor muscle therapy at home using our patented motion-based technology and an evidence-based treatment protocol, and we wrap that around with personalized coaching for any woman who wants it. So Leva is used twice a day for 8 to 12 weeks. That motion-based mechanism of action is included in the vaginal wand. It has 6 accelerometers. Those provide direct real-time visual feedback on the patient's smartphone app. So this personalized instruction is really critical. So the pelvic floor muscles, they're not like your bicep. You can't see if you're doing the muscle in the treatment exercises properly. And in fact, oftentimes it's easy to sort of think you're doing them properly, but really be bearing down, which is typically the direct opposite of what you'd want to be doing. So this embedded video here shows how Leva actually sort of at work. So there's 10-second cycle of rest, followed by 15-second cycle of lifting and squeezing. Sort of similar, again, think of that bicep analogy or working out analogy, sort of a rest and then engagement of the muscles. So Leva will show whether or not the woman is doing the treatment properly or improperly. If it goes down into that red, the app will tell the woman, unless she knows that she's doing it improperly. And then finally, Leva tracks adherence, also as well as symptom improvement, and we provide a monthly report back to the prescriber with the patient's progress. Leva's backed by 3 published studies from our RCT, all of which were against active control arms. We also have 2 published real-world evidence studies which have similar results to the RCT. In the RCT, by 8 weeks, patients had reached what's called a patient-acceptable symptom state, and that then lasted for the 2-year follow-up. Effectively, patient-acceptable symptom state, sort of where someone feels better to the point where they typically wouldn't seek further treatment. Even better in the RCT, if you look here in the purple box, 8 weeks of treatment resulted in 24 months of symptom improvement. So 8 weeks of using the device, 24 months of improvement, that's something that's really gotten the attention of payers. Earlier this quarter, we announced a long-term collaboration with Mayo Clinic. There are 4 parts to that collaboration. First, Mayo Clinic's best-in-class educational content is going to be included in the Leva app. So every patient will have access to Mayo Clinic's educational content in the app. Leva is also going to be integrated into Mayo Clinic's first-line care pathway. Longer term, we're also going to be working with Mayo Clinic on some next-gen product development, really a sort of a longitudinal product focused on everything from care from postpartum all the way through postmenopause. And then finally, as I mentioned, there was a strategic investment by the Mayo Clinic Ventures team. Looking ahead here, over the next 2 years, we're very much focused on commercial growth, ensuring Leva gets into the hands of patients. We are also very focused on continuing our overall mission, delivering clinically proven treatments that redefine the standard of care across women's pelvic health. Success towards that mission means we'll expand Leva's indications, FDA indications over time, such as early-stage pelvic organ prolapse, where we have some early data, as well as utilizing our real-world data to create these AI-enabled personalized treatments. And again, we actually have a publication that's under review that we expect to get, that we'll be publishing later this year that shows that, and we've already presented some of that data at the AUGS, the American Urogyn Conference last fall. Longer term, we have a roadmap that includes continued collaboration with Mayo Clinic, protocols that we believe ultimately may prevent pelvic floor disorders from developing, as well as potentially diagnostics that'll help us identify whether or not a patient should move on to second and third line treatments, such as medications or some of the procedures and surgeries that are out there. Here are my colleagues at Axena Health, namely our CEO, Randy Pritchard there. Look, great team. We're supported by world-class board of directors, steeped in medical device experience, supported, committed healthcare investor syndicate. Everybody on this slide has a proven track record of delivering value to stakeholders, and we're looking forward to continuing to do that. We'll be raising money later this year, and I look forward to following up with folks this week. Thanks, everybody.